Alright, that's okay. Yeah, just Germany, and Kenji, New Sumki, and then that, just in Germania, and just in Germany, Ming Yoda, Ming Toda, and then answer that daily at dinner hours, the culture, and just in Germania, did, but Jike, Kuson Tusun Union, Tibetan, deposition the church, and so lip chatting on to share or else at the dinner on the show at the Koshua.
Good afternoon. So this morning we looked at the verses on homage. We looked particularly in relation to the homage expressed to Arya Tara or Venerable Tara, who is the how we relate to as being the appearance of the enlightened activities of all the Buddhas. We also spoke about the meaning of her name, liberator, Drul, and then the second particle of Ma, showing her commitment to always be born as a woman. And here in the verses of homage, one recalls all the good qualities of the Buddhas, their body, their speech, their mind, as well as enlightened activities. And with this arising within one makes supplications. I mentioned this morning that the text starts with a particular format before coming to the main body. So we've looked at the homage, and here we come to the part of the text where the author, Lama Tsongkhapa, encourages or exhorts his students, the audience of the teachings, to listen well.
The
third verse, having attained this auspicious basis of leisure, you of fine features, if you follow me who speaks to help others, listen respectively and attentively to this concise explanation.
Digi du Chuku Hore, Dunga Se Kuores, Chisada Digi Juya, the Dunga Segi, Tempe, Masses Sambo, that Aranzula, Ludindi, Sambo Shuchu, the rest or David Dance, Dawa Jet, Jova, Jus Haviki, and the Tin Chabachin Yores, Chisan David Dance, Dance Sambo, the Tin Delia, Azuki, Settle, Tin Delia, Jawachimagi. Hada mi ngono ngondo jubigi dandala hada mi goma thoye dunala ane ngazugi nyamlen chevene jubthugi gyusa tugores dendele ya ane ngazo tarbi goma thoye ge dunna nyamlen chebane nyamlen che tugures ane di dendele ya sanje goma thoye chido nyamlen cheje nyamlen chebane dendele nyamlen che tugures sisanga zo dendele ya nyamlen chebane 체디 디기 주야 동아세야 아니 겨치마 사람이 고모 토야 되네 달바다 탐제기 고모 토야기 된 차사 냠랭기 주 투여기 당아저 류딘 상보된 아주 톱도요 그래서 대위电상 녀바스 당아저 녀요 그래서 대위电상 녀세대
Looking at the first half of the first line, having attained this auspicious basis of leisure. So the word leisure implies that this is referring to the leisures and endowments, or the freedoms and endowments. So we could also have it as the auspicious basis of freedom, in that all of us, as mentioned this morning, are the same in yearning for a happiness that is free from all forms of suffering, that is forever free of all forms of suffering. To attain such to achieve such a state, one needs to transform one's mind, again as mentioned this morning. And to be able to do so, one needs a particular basis, a basis marked by freedoms or leisures, and endowments or opportunities. So this refers to 10 particular leisures or freedoms, and 8 endowments or opportunities, which mark a human rebirth that is seen as precious. So such a basis, or a physical body, such a life, is something that we have all achieved. We have the basis which is required, this auspicious basis which is required in order to accumulate the causes for a good rebirth as a human or God in our future lives. We have the auspicious, or could also say the excellent basis that is required in order to accumulate the causes required for liberation and enlightenment. So therefore, that we have an ideal basis for mental development.
Isa da dunjo ge tian nyawa da yida da ngan dunjo la so be de ju ge tian le ya de ni gi an nga ju ju tu ye gi ane ju tu ma re se da tarba da tamje ge bi jiza de so de gi de so ju ya de yong de ma do de ne go tarba da tamje ge mi go ba to ya da ane ji ge wa chi ma la da mi go ba to tu ye gi nyam nen ji tu ye gi ane lu din ko rong ge chan ye yong tu go ma des.
Those who have fallen to the lower realms, so they have a basis that is certainly not auspicious at all. So beings who have been born as an animal, for example, they cannot accumulate the causes that will lead to good rebirth, and certainly not to liberation and enlightenment. Whilst in the lower realms, such as the animal realm, slight virtue certainly is accumulated. One does not have a suitable basis for spiritual development, whereas we have attained an ideal basis for spiritual development.
确切的写这样对是用我的其实今天是咱俺就米点的了的他的蹲着的但他的米的蹲着那这边俺就米点的两人节给点的压缩的这些
The basis of existence, or the basis, the bodies that one can be born into, the lives one can be born into, can be divided into those lower realms, such as referred to, as well as the upper realms, the higher realms, of which humans are one part, and the other part will be the various forms of God realms. So whilst we all long for happiness, in the God realms there is an immense abundance of happiness. However, whilst they have far greater happiness than we do, their life is not seen as an ideal basis for spiritual development, because quite simply their life is just too comfortable. Whereas for humans, we have compared to the lower realms a tremendous amount of happiness, but we're not in danger of being overwhelmed by an abundance of happiness like the gods are. We have a balance between the experience of happiness, but also suffering. Whereas in the lower realms, one is overwhelmed by suffering. So as a human being who has attained a precious human rebirth with the 10 leisures and the 8 endowments, we are able to gain, through this balance of suffering and happiness, we are able to see that spiritual development is possible and to bring it about and to achieve it.
the chick Trisha Jella, Masike Chick Pando, Chembo, Namdula, Sobada, the Negi, that Trisha Jella, huge Milia go Pandor. That is on me, some no rebut, some not done, rebut down, Ashin, Nidinigi, say to you over, say, Anangazulia, Chick Ganga Sea, Dini, Tuya, Chick Donga Sea, Tiki Tuyalia, 배마스 시우지 여바 주투고 여바 땡아 저기 땅아 저 되네기 토네 삼다베네 세워와 제가 디나신다 먼저 셈기 토네 지금 류된들이야 곰잡 안 삼노당 곰잡 띵에서 곰신에 주야라 소바다 되네체 나 시우지 주투에게 여바 인자 땅아 저 류된데 땡켜봐도 봐봐래서 시디 숨어와
And here, a key point to recognize within ourselves is this incredible human intelligence we all have. It's all too easy to become dispirited, to feel that we're a little small, that especially as one hears the path laid out before one, oh, it's all too difficult, or if one has been trying for a while, one can get frustrated thinking, oh, this is beyond me. This would be a mistake. We have incredible intelligence, really, truly incredible intelligence. It's independent on this intelligence that so much has and still can be achieved. All we need to do is look at our world around us and look what independence on human intelligence has been developed. The material development throughout our world has brought such benefit to beings, not just to those who use their intelligence and make a difference, but to others unknown to them. Incredible development has come and benefit through technological development, all of which has come about independence on human intelligence. Not only can transformation of our external world come about independence on this intelligence, so too can we radically transform our inner world, independence on this intelligence we all have.
나네게 가지고 리덴디 베주에 첨보다 뉴버 첨보다 개발도 연대 여바데 가지고 두신데 제시자 되네게 되네 예비기 대위电사 예비 신상 교회서는 지단의 신상라비어도 신라는 아주 동라고래 동아 인제보들의 신상 교회서 결혼 신상 교회서 신상세 지단기 아주 지디베기 셰월의 신상라비도 동인지보들 고고래 다데데 동인지볼 고고 말 신상 교회서 신상시도 동인지보 데 나시 아주 그 셈바데 아니야 지금 동할 되기 디기투비하게 듬버여봐 디기투비에 탑람 아니 야 듬버여비게 데네기 안직 냠렌지에게 셈는 뉴버여봐 아니 셈 야고사지 셈 야고데 셈 상배 초디 아니 결혼 데네기 결혼을 되네 요래 결혼을 되네 요래서 단달라 가르친 것은 결혼기 띠는 결혼도 띠인디 다외게는 저 주선 유딘 개발전 띠들라 가르는 줍는 줍투에 여봐지레스 아니 결혼기 셈델야 셈 성보 아니 현래 펜베세바다 지외 셈바 결혼줄기를 여대바제 디야 뭐베 고뭐 디마세 아니 결혼 최래 되냐기 듬버 여바 안 최래 대바 여바 되냐기 듬버 여바지 레샤세 안디 송고르
The first line concludes with you are fine features. This expression fine features it literally refers to someone who has a beautiful, handsome face. So it's a polite way to refer to someone. But the meaning behind this polite expression is what is important, because it's not about particular physical characteristics of what a particular culture at a particular time finds beautiful or handsome, but rather to being a human being who has attained the full set of freedoms and endowments, and therefore possesses this remarkable human intelligence and this potential that comes with that. That you are fine features, you with this incredible basis for spiritual development, can transform your mind and thereby attain complete and lasting freedom from all forms of suffering. And this can be done because of your great intelligence, as well as the inner good qualities that you already possess and thereby can develop. For example, having a good heart, being of kind nature. These we all have, and these can be developed ever further.
최세야딩 알아서 차산디 차드는 차대로 와 가르생한테 띠인디 류딘 안에 나와게던 주어주 류딘 개발진의 여대 바래 땅 알아서 주기 안에 삼나라야 Jambadan, Zewa, Yore, and Jig, and Chula, Deva Yoba, Chutin, Jag, Dumbada, Duny, Dumba Yoba, and Deva Yobaji, Yudirua, Dinezada, David and Sani Visions like you said, Manzuli Redirua.
In reading this, we see the expression of you. So the way we should relate to this text is that Lama Tsongkhapa is addressing us each individually, because we all have attained this auspicious basis of leisure, and we are therefore suitable to be called of fine features. Here Lama Tsongkhapa is reminding all of us of our incredible intelligence, this human intelligence we have, as well as the seeds of remarkable qualities that we have on our continuum of love, of compassion, of faith in the Buddha Dharma, and that we all have an aspiration to spiritually develop, to transform our mind. So Lama Tsongkhapa is reminding us of these good qualities each and every one of us possesses.
Kowe Pemba maybe Jetana, Sida Dangi, Kowe said the Jeremy, and Kronzulia, Pembe Sembi, Pembe Sambi Gune Lache, Kronzulia, Pembigi, and the Kronzulia, Shigi Insore, Jesna Kronzun, Delia, and Sheba de la Jesu John Delia, Di Turba, Jetune, and Delia, Dunda, Samdan, Yaman Cheva Ina, and Dene Kronzul, Pembe, some Daje, Pembi, Shigi Insore.
The second line, if you follow me who speaks to help others. So here, Lama Tsongkhapa continues as he does throughout the text, to address us directly. You who recognize that I have the wish solely to benefit you and all beings, listen well, listen well.
도점 시대 다 직망부 매되게 안 돈다 차되게 직용용 돌뒤지세 안 직용용은 제 되들래 돈다디 냠는지 돈다 차상 차되게지 마시기인스 제 도점 시기 다 삼바탑의 뉘에서 결선 남사 안 파스 된대야 삼바 셈네 삼진 될래야 돈바 돈여기 돈여 돈바제 될래야 준주지 아니 우도시네 년쇼서 그다네 년바고 와서 년쇼서 다도시네.
If you follow me, who speaks to help others, listen receptively and attentively to this concise explanation. The text that Lama Tsongkhapa has presented for us is very brief. It's really very few words, but contains incredible meaning. Therefore, listen well. Be receptive to the meaning of what's being imparted, and be attentive. Do so throughout the presentation of this text, and generate an aspiration to transform yourself, to fulfill your human potential.
And the Kyozo Samla Dana Tovine, and Chela Deba Yoba, Doni Yutumba Yoba, and Jamba and Zivi, Samlode, and Yudi Pachitiniki, and Chiki Tiniki, Samlonale in the Yudici. Dineza, Ne Kyozolia, and Chiki, J. Kyozuki, and a sick tortuge, Nunje, Dunda Nibochasas Harding, a Kyonzo Pembe, Sambata Pembe on the Kyozo Shigi is, and Kyozo Dia. Dingy Shiva de la Cheso Janji, Kyozo, Samba Tapiki, Zunjuji, and Turje. And it did some danger, Yamnaji or essay, don't anybody some more.
The meaning in brief of the exhortation here from Lama Tsongkhapa is he's saying to us, recognize what you have achieved. You have all accumulated the causes in the past and now experiencing the result of having a precious human rebirth, which is characterized by the 18 freedoms and opportunities. This you have attained. And coming with us is an incredible human intelligence, as well as the seeds for all good qualities such as kind heart, love and compassion, faith or a genuine interest in the Buddha Dharma. Moreover, you have recognized my sincere wish to be of benefit to you. So having recognized this, listen well, open your heart, Listen well, transform your mind.
안데지 당한 줄에 디니에 다데 류딘디네 개발전에 삼론나래딘데 쇼레 에세디 당어제 더르시 제제반자다 다는 아주기 디기 주비아다 누하세알야 삼로간스 당고레에스 당보다 삼나탄하디 마순고르딘 마다.
That then is the introduction of the introductory verses. Now we come to the main body of the text, which presents the method for transforming our mind so as to eradicate suffering completely and bring about the attainment of lasting happiness.
지디디레다 네버로 원신 율도 원메비 치위 삼바 양야 마자나 게위 삼바 미기 게나양 세디 분소 룰렌 점도 세스.
In the fourth verse, it will definitely come, and it will swiftly come. It is also certain that if you fail to train through repeatedly reflecting on death, virtuous thoughts will not arise, and even when they do, they will just amount to concerns for the delights of this life.
ngui nesuda ha mogo genje nga zu beji dang tu go ma de an ji nga zu gi lüdin kheba jin de da chenpo zhu mo tu ba ji an ji nesu lia ga chung chung ji le an beji da ji an zo zhu go ba di na xin an zo samlo da de be gom je ji wu xin de samlo nu ba kheba ji wu dang tu ye yor de gyu wa dang tu ye yor de di nga zu gi dang tu ye be nesuda ha mogo ji de nga zu gi 지기 내수 충충질이야 삼다제 되는 질량 저기 삼노디 안지게 뒤서 저주고 그래서 되는 인자 당하죠 데 삼노 간에 땅 거래서 누수 신의 삼땅 거래 되는 인자 삼노 다다데 마 도스진 순거다.
What this verse starts, what the purpose of this, what this verse presents, is to say to us that now you have recognized or been reminded of this precious human rebirth that you have achieved. All of us will recognize that, but we have not really thought well about its potential, its great purpose. And therefore the way most people live their lives whilst they know they are humans is their potential is unrecognized by themselves. And therefore, in a sense, they keep themselves small. They do not fulfill their incredible potential. So for ourselves as spiritual aspirants, recognizing that we have this precious human rebirth, these freedoms and opportunities, but not having come to truly see its incredible potential, we waste our lives on achieving small benefit, slight benefit. Our motivation for spiritual transformation does not match our actual potential. So the purpose of this topic here that is being presented is to guide us to recognize our incredible potential.
인지미징에바도 원에 레레데 가르스니 치와세들이 징에바도 옹그리에스 용그리에스 다 마용아 균에 마시바레스 녜바도 용그리에스 아니 대안에 뉴르도 옹왕에 바레스 안 치와세데 제자다 아주 치와세데 간수 술리이네 미 야가 벤 교호시나다 미지게 토보시나다 아니지게 잔이 수라시네 근데 치와서야지 녀바도 용거래 진짜 치와서야지 마와이 기대요 말 녀바로 원신 치와도 용거래스 안데야 아니 뉴도 용거래스 아주 교고 용거래스 뉴도 옹메베기 근데 치와서야지 용거래지래.
This precious life we have that we have attained, it will end, and this is definite. This is what is referred to here. It will definitely come. It's referring to death. Will definitely come. And this is the case for everyone, no matter whom one is. As we know from what's just happened maybe a week ago, people of great fame and renown in the world, they die too. Just like the unknown people in the world. death is certain for everyone. And moreover, it will come swiftly. Life is passing. So looking at these first two lines, it will definitely come and it will swiftly come. It is also certain that if you fail to train through repeatedly reflecting on death, okay, so that's as far as getting read.
용고어데 나나 쪽에 삼나 땅고어 베스네 삼나 땅고 말해제 지산 치워 치우기에서 비게 삼로딩 안줄 까브레 끼고 얼마다 망치와 당한줄도 직 삼땅고만 하고 직 땡고 말와 진에 디네 나나 쪽에 소소라 삼다비네 어당아디 산이 나니 로제마 지주 로데 디바도 지긴세 직시고시에 파 쇼라 삼다 디 삼다도 유네마 시와지 디바를 하기에서 배 삼땅고를 마도 시와를 삼 시루그에서 배 삼나 땅고 말해 제상 안 주게 되니기 삼라 땅 두고 말해 디네 자다 먼저 디니까 치와세데 삼땅고를 해서 지 직된된 시기에 시는 기디싱해 봐 요말에서 배 삼로 땅고를 해셔야 돼.
This first line, I wouldn't expect there'll be any disagreement with the meaning. Everyone here accepts that death will come. That you could say that the lifespan is not likely, one's lifespan is not likely to be beyond, say, 100 years. So this is accepted, that death will come. However, whilst that is accepted, we do not live our life with an awareness of that truth. So it's recognized as a truth, but it hasn't penetrated within us. It hasn't been realized within us. Even if one has heard this presentation before, unless one is living one's life with this recognition, one hasn't yet been transformed by this understanding. Because the way we live our life is as if there is an expanse of time before us. And one may think, or there are many decades, or one may think, oh, they're only some years. But we all have this belief that there is time. There still is time. And it's only when something greatly unwanted happens and an instant fear arises for our life that we recognize that death can come swiftly at any moment. But then that thought passes and we go on with our life, looking towards a future we live as if we have complete confidence will definitely come.
제사다 먼저 시산에 매바 차기를 배웠네. 다 매바 차기가 말했어. 제상 아주 시나 아 주기 네 지게 개와 치말 봐. 개와 치마시 링고로 와서 개와 치말 두고 그랬더니 누구세네 개와 치말 두고 그러. 제사 시나 매바 차기가 말 개와 치말 두고 그래지래. 제사 내내자 진 치워지 치위 삼바 야냐 마자나 세데 그디 치에기 그디 직치다 그다고 tempo 요말 그디 시 니미치 시줘야래 그디 싱해봐 요말에서 비게 삼로데 야야 삼당 고래서 디 삼마다나 가르교요래라네 개위 삼바 미기에서네 개위 삼바 미기에서데 개와 제에게 삼로 고고 말해야지 다 개와 제에게 최제에게 아니 삼로 고고 말해야지 치위 삼바 야야 마자나 개위 삼바 미기에서
Moreover, not only is it certain that death will come and that it will come swiftly, when we encounter death, we do not cease to exist. This life ends, but immediately our next life begins. And the text continues into the second line. It is also certain that if you fail to train through repeatedly reflecting on death, and here comes the consequence, virtuous thoughts will not arise. So it's this living under the delusion that we have an expanse of time before us that prevents us or holds us back from making great efforts in utilizing what remains well of this life. 체디 분조 훈련 점도 세. 세대 계시다
dine chiwama sambaje gewe jawa gewa drubye sambar kebe ane karchirsen che dizamji digi drubya da kanga se digi drubya ya ane geshu zamnamado gewa chima phaya da tabada tamje kimbe goba thoye phambaji jitu mares arasende da ane gewa chimage samma ta je chiwa gewa chime samma ta ban da je chiwa je karchirsen che di sosugi da jige dungha se ya da sosugi jawa lamro yona dondalya ane jige ya chewo phuya da dine 가시는 양식 소수기 어담년자 용야다 데니기 토네 안체로 두그레스 딘체로 직계의 직자와지 개와 두베네 디니 개와디 아니 체디기 아니 체디점길이야 판바지마도 개와 침말 판바지 두고 말해스.
And the verse concludes, and even when they do, so when virtuous thoughts do arise, they will just amount to concerns for the delights of this life. So remaining confused about the certainty of death and how that death could come at any moment, one may turn one's mind towards accumulation of virtue. But when one does, due to the narrowness of one's outlook, those minds will be of little strength. But mostly, one will just be focused on achieving mundane pleasures or pleasures of this one life, as well as overcoming the problems and difficulties of this one life. And this we experience by how excited we get at the achievement of small pleasures and how upset we become over the encountering of minor obstacles, minor problems. And then when we do try and turn our mind to virtue, still our hope is mainly to that the activities of this life, our work and so forth, go well, are successful, and that others think well of us, we have a good reputation. These tend to be what we value most, what is foremost. So this just ensures that the virtue that we accumulate is weak in strength.
Lobsang Dorje 당아주게 레갈레요로와 다디 레갈레야디 아주게 디링 니메냥아 레갈레야디 가르치도 레고라스네 디링 칼라사야기 도얀다다 디링기 둘로 고야기 돈다 레갈레요 말와 나 디링 사야요데 다디 당아주 가르치었네 산이 나니 다와체마 마오바 로체마기 디솔리아 비제타야게 강한 마체게 돈다라야 아니 아주게 튕기요야기 튕기게 돈다라 아주 레갈레요로와 다 산이 나니다 다와체마 로체마기 그냥 삼마가와체 디링 찍고 삼다체 아니 되베네 칼라 디링 칼라요버데 사사 아니 디네 다 산이 나니 마오바 사야기 디리 마체바자 디메르와 메네 디네 산이네 산마 사야메 강아하 체디고로와 지사 디네 인자 나주기 지딘비게 레갈레간 차사 가르치고로스네 나주기 레갈레야디 디링 사야다 디링 둘로가야다 디링 기부제야다 디링 짬섬던거 말에 조 마오바나 로제마 마오바 안에 지 소수기 로데니 차등아 강아치리디 강아 마세 강아세에 된다 가 로침부 차도 한위면에 강아치기래서다 로제마라 강아치기래서다 안 마오바네 부우도 롭죠지야라 컨트롤러 조선 다음에 강아치기래서 데니게서야 되는 가지기 지기 튕긴 사야데 레갈레 튕겨 사야데 디링 찍부기 된다 삼당 거래배 마오배 삼당 거래서 아주 마오배 삼다지 레갈리고로와 삐삐가지기 삐디나시 나서 체디점기 삼다제 직개와라제 직 사야동야다 튕긴 줍되바이나 개와 치마 삼마다바이나 체디 디점이 사바데 조사 데네 개와 치마를 비시다데 다데네 사메레 메네 치마를 강아치기레스 데네 인자 개와 치마를 나서 체데다 치마니제나 다데 디링 나도 니메치 디링당 마오바지만 마오바네 게셰제 나 직팀빌레가 제바 나시 나도 셈기tun이 취념는 제야돼야 체디단 치마니제나 체디디베 통도레 체치마디베 균유보레스 지네자 다 체치미게 된다라 게체와 삼다제 아니 냠는 제고레 디네자 시와 템바네 체치마디 용고 쟁기레스 제사 체치마디 쟁선반 치미 된다라 양야디 디 튕긴 사야다 and the Yapoya, the Dungasia, the Digi Tablam, that's in the Pisuchi, go up your Pisuchi, two days, go up your dinner, Chivajango, says this more.
What this presentation of the Buddha Dharma is exhorting us to do is advice that you all will have received in your life. For example, when you're children, or you may have given advice to your own children, which is think beyond today, think beyond the pleasures of today. Don't be so overwhelmed by the small problems you've encountered. So parents will say this to their children. And then as we grow up and we age, we are still encouraged, when we start working, to don't spend all your money and just have a good time. Invest in your future. Invest in your education. Save some money. Because if you only live for today, that would mean you would ensure you have just enough money to buy enough to eat today and to pay today's rent. But what's going to happen tomorrow? So this we know. We learned this as a young child, and we tried as young adults to think in this way and try to save for our retirement, even when it seemed a very long way away. And then when one becomes a parent oneself, then one thinks, I really need to ensure I put something away for the future. I need to take care of my children, especially their further education. Or today I would imagine parents think of saving for to help their children get a deposit for a home in 20 years' time. So we know this from society. Don't live just for today. Look beyond. We don't know what lies before us. The unexpected may well come. So prepare, plan well. So this is the advice that we largely live by. And this is the advice that is being presented here, but within a context of the Buddha Dharma, where one recognizes that this one life is fleeting. It will be 80 or maybe 100 years long, and then it's done. But before us, still lies rebirth upon rebirth upon rebirth. When we think of this expansive period of time, the innumerable lifespans that still lie before us, this life is seen as fleeting, and that focusing just on the problems of this life or the pleasures of this life really is quite unbalanced. Rather, we need to ensure that we accumulate the causes to have good rebirths in the future, as well as the favorable circumstances required so as to continue our spiritual development life after life.
다 로망부의 되베링리 되기 체시딘제 데니글로 망부의 되베링리아 강한 마체기 돈달라 튕긴디게 마하수 다된 파사제 베슈당도아스 지사 디링치부 삼마다줄로 망부의 링리아 아니 강한 마체기 돈달라 가지고 튕긴디게 사지 직 탑시다제 두시 강한 마체디 삼당고르와스 베디나신 다 딩아 저기 세디기디 로망부 되바다 된 되기를 되니기 되제 다 튕기 마사바나 네 강아 체기를 선비 만도 삼로 고고로 와 삼다신고로 와 삼다신제 아니 뭐 디던달래 양 저기 베지 베선제제 아니 지킬려가 다되네 고나 저기 베지나 베지기로 와제 어다 당아 졸려 가르고 디나시다 마저 개와 치마 연구리에 삼바데 삼다마신 바인자 삼시라 고고 말 제가 시루구리 신의 개와 치마 연구리 제제 다이 삼의 개와 치마 삼마토 마고 완자 아니 치마들이야 강아 요나 강아 세게 삼로디 고고 말 와제 제가 되네 인자 다 치루구리에 삼베 삼다나 개와 치마 연구리에서 다 치마 연구리에 삼베 삼도 코로에도 치마들이야 나도 로체마라 강아 마체기 타블론 쇠바나시 개와 치마이나야 안지기 류딜 강아 마체다 류딜 야고야다 안디 덴델이야 튀게 야고야 네나자마야 안도시네 가야기 돈달라 안디 야고야기 귀디 다되는 가서 삼로 따지가지고 비치치야요래 진짜 두두시네 삼따지가지고 다되는 배주 제고래서 어디네게 개와 사고래서 딘 사고래서 다가 가지고 로망부의 링을 다야기 튕긴도시 직 사시에 가서 제리여바이나 안에 로망 지게 로제마 다다원 이제래 가르제베네 강아메 튕기 유에스메 셈레 로디부요레 아니 게시 데니기 로디네레베나 강아균네 태메바 마테야도 튕기디 베지다 유에디 바 차고로와 어디나시 다케와 치마 삼다쟁아주 체델이야 튕기 게조 줍제 냠는 제바이나 아니 개와 치마디 디팽게 개와 치마 가와 개발렘베네 아니 개와 상보 영화 지다 덴텔레이네 안 튕기 야보 영화 강아 마야 지금 그래 해야지 다딘디 디테리 채고래 디테리 채야라 개와 치마데 삼로 코고레스 개와 치마 삼로 코와라 히로레 셈베게 삼나 땅고레스 지난 치워데 삼다 치워서는 신이 개와 링기데 삼다 다 개와 렘바이네 개와디 야보 영화다 강아 마태기 다니 탑람데 다딘디 지긴 시비 개위 개주도 주고 고레스 donda nimbo sungwarda.
If we know that if we plan well for our future, we can have a degree of confidence about our future. That when, for example, our retirement comes, if we have been able to plan well for that, we can have confidence that whatever our circumstances will be, we will be able to deal with them all the better. So this is widely recognized, and therefore one perhaps to prepare well for the future, one will save, one will get a good education, and so forth. So this, especially when we're younger and getting advice, we may well be told by our parents or our teachers to have a more mature outlook. So here, we're being encouraged to ensure that our outlook is this mature outlook is developed further, looking beyond this life. Because just like we all will want a comfortable retirement, and a retirement where we have sufficient means to deal with life's challenges, those which are all unknown to us at this point, so too, when we think about the expanse of lifetimes that lie beyond this one, just like our preparing for later years is dependent on the causes we accumulate now, so too, what we encounter in future lives is dependent on the causes we accumulate now. Whether we have a good rebirth or not is dependent on the causes we accumulate now. So too, it is whether that good rebirth is marked by favorable conditions such as good health, which enables our spiritual development. That comes about in dependence on the causes we accumulate. So thinking like this is a far more mature way of thinking, looking beyond just this life. And it serves to give us a strength of mind and a more determined focus to accumulate the causes that are required for ongoing spiritual development. And this then is the meaning of the meditation on death and impermanence, which is about lifting our view beyond this life, so that we are not overwhelmed by this life's problems, this life's pleasures, but we rather see them in their true perspective and have a focus on lives beyond this one.
Dala Dirashik, Murdo Wonge, Namyong, Chamelas, Desi Luda Longju Zashenam, Gunda Dashin, Gedan Tibile, Dimashin to Jesu Jangwadangs.
Moving to the fifth verse. Thus, upon seeing or hearing of the death of others, reflect that this will happen to you. Similarly, yours is undeniably rapidly approaching and will arrive without warning. At that moment, you will separate from your body each and every possession, friend, and loved one. However, virtuous and non-virtuous karma will follow you like a shadow.
남용 참여라 세도다 직접 숨디 된다 뒤시샤베나 제가 마아줄야 미션다디 어디디와 미치 시샤사다 디니디니 시샤사다 지금 시와 통화 용어래 안 암주 퇴바 용거리스 mi shanda dine shi sha sayada, and jig mi re, and semchen dine shi sha sayada, the shi sha sayada, and the shiva so tonga down tuba yungures, dine kabla, and dine todu kabla, so la yila, somla, sidu, dala, diraj, nudo ong and namyong. Chizan nalaya, that naya nimchik shirugres, Chizan dinegi shiva tangala yungure, Chizan gedi nudo ong, so the gedi shigre said, gedi shig mares, how well mares. That chesa du sud denechile shigre denechi shig marsede du sud tata tembe gayo mares me baza kien se de xie yin di kien del be mangbu yo banza gedi shi ngane nghewa yo mares de undus chene samtangu re jere.
Looking at the first 3 lines, thus upon seeing or hearing of the death of others, reflect that this will happen to you. Similarly, yours is undeniably rapidly approaching and will arrive without warning. And thus links this verse to the previous verse. Here, having engaged in the reflection on the impermanence of this life, remind yourself of this during the day, not just in your meditation session. Remind yourself of impermanence, in particular of the impermanence of life. And when one sees or hears of death, remind yourself it will come. Where one sees death in terms of, perhaps more frequently in terms of animals, remind yourself your death will come. And where we hear of someone that we perhaps know has died, remind yourself our death will come. For all of us, our death is certain, but the time of death is completely uncertain, is unknown to us. Keep reminding yourself that it will not be long before everyone, everything, and I will be gone. This is certain to come to pass.
Dinigi samdaje and ke nyurdu shiwa de nyurdu ongre keti ngeba yo mare samda baina and nga jige bene shiwa de jige da tom lo bene ngobju ju jele shigre samda baina and Geshe Thubten Rabten Lamsam Tumado Universal High Pa and Jama to Choro, Dua, some Yorova, Yungurova. The Neza, that new to she Kedishi, she was to tend the Yungre, the Kedishi never Yomarda said, the Nez sometime the Kabla, or the Kewa Tubegi, Kewa Chimegi, Geshe Thubten, or that didn't do Godus. Sitting at Kedishi never Yomadi, Geshe Madu, she saw John Chimberag, the things that Kedishi never Yomara, the Neza, that didn't care to Shavena, the Kewa Tubaina, and the Kedishi Vene, Kangaska Yomara and Big. Chesatanga to Kewa Tubedi, Nudu Ungri, Kedishi never Yomare, sometime do Digi some of the Kaligors and Shula, me, Geshe to Kewa Chimagitana, Geshe Thubten. That didn't do good simply to Vielia, to Vielia, and Pinguare, deep higher than Dala, the names that got it's new to share the Namching never sometimes said, sometimes had to.
In the second sentence in these 3 lines, similarly, yours is undeniably rapidly approaching and will arrive without warning. This is the crucial part of the meditation on the impermanence of this life. Not merely accepting that death will come, but that when it comes is completely unknown. Because if we think, oh, I still have decades before me, if we have confidence in that, we will procrastinate. We will say, later when I'm not so busy, I will then apply myself to spiritual development. But we need to recognize that whilst there is an average lifespan, there is only an average lifespan because of those who don't live up to that age. And which side of that average lifespan we fall, and how close or far we are to it, this is completely unknown. Our death, so this way of thinking, is to recognize that our death is rapidly approaching, and our life may almost be over. We may have many years before us, but we cannot hold to that with any certainty. And the purpose of this recognition is to shake our complacency, shake this belief that there is still time, and rather recognize the need to overcome our procrastination and apply ourselves right now to the accumulation of virtue to ensure that we achieve good rebirths in our future lives. So this strength of mind, this determination to utilize what remains of this life as well as possible, that is the purpose of this meditation.
Ngalia and Sungibnu yu, Nashigi Mare, Sambege, Samlo Corsigra, and Nazan Yo Mare, and they Gedi Joshig, the kind of she and Subutada, Ngalia and Twingene yu, and Sungib the yu, Sambege, Samlo Gedi Shigmara Sambana, that didn't have a Sio Marwa, Penang Jugi, Chike Sayum Gedi Japsade, Hawaii, Sayum Kudugra, Chik Sayum Japson, D. Kinchen, and she drive Mure, and then Jugi Chavata. Chavaja law chuche, the negi, and the yon sigide, and name Ramaratuna, name Tony yon sigide, and then them shugurdo Tony, and the men began to jig Modrada, the negi Tony, young Dabkin, the negi Tony. Chesatan Anzulia, Kin Yoya, Kin di Mangushu Yubanza, Chesangazo, Diba doing a shigmare that she would do it some big 10 carriage, get better. The Garson Anzulia, she gained Masum Mangu Yudi.
Especially when one is in good health and has comfortable material circumstances, and one sees oneself as being on the younger side, it's very easy to think, I have quite an expanse of time before me. Even if one's a little bit older, but is still in reasonable health, physical comfort, and you think to yourself, I live a pretty healthy life, I take care of myself, and my health is quite good. One will see oneself as having a valid basis for saying, I still have many years ahead of me, many decades ahead of me. But statistically, this may well be the case. But one cannot say with any certainty that death will not come next week, tomorrow, or even today. We may say it's unlikely, but we cannot say this with certainty. So with climate change, we've seen that natural disasters are happening ever more. They're more frequent and of greater strength. This leads to unexpected death. So too, accidents, as well as, even if we're in good health, undiagnosed illness. There are so few causes to sustain life, but so many that can end our life. So we need to reflect on this well, that there really is no certainty that the young will outlive the old, that those who are currently healthy will outlive those who are unhealthy. There is no certainty.
Adine, Dece Luda Lonju Zashenam, Gundan Jashin, Kedan Dibele, Dimashin do Chiso Jamadas. Dece Luda Lonju Zashenam Gundan Jashin. 摘星噻，就像当做西周的搞了，那这个给地呢，当做绿的，今年送的绿的，当做白这送给这大伙修结果的，伊那做西周的搞的绿的，人们开出来要嘛的，这绿的下出来的这嘞。当这个龙泉路去当做右边角的听见那看这啥下边边呢，西的你开出来要嘛的。 제가 류디에 캐더면 론저데 캐더면데 개와치말라 다 아주 다디 류디나 다디 론준이디 파케치네 개와치말라 베제다지 네 강아세야 된 디기투비알라 핑고 말해지래 다 자신 남세도 소소기 분야 아니 지게 조보 아니 소소기 다 라마 기회신이 라서바 소소기 튠비게 되는 니도 가세 여바나 차상 염도 치료에 로봇 치료에 말해서 저 소수지 부줘야 돼 로봇 치료에 말해서 차상에다 염도 전에 가데는 줘야 돼 마도 염도 치료에 말해서 제가 디네자 다데 개와치말 줘도 갑라 로봇가 뒤에 뒤속에 로봇 치료에서 강아세야다 디네게 줘야 말해서 제가다 소수기 체 류다 론죄다 자세 간데 지네 소시 시도도 갑라 차상 키야요 말해서 샤샤샤로 그래서 군나 자신스 제가 디 캐줘야 매반자 绿龙觉 아니 지금 자시에 같이네 개와치마라 대수기 강아세 로버지교 말에 아니 대기 주변에 팽교 말와 개와치마 개라메 와서 메로 메는 다 판도 비제다 메로.
And the verse continues. At that moment, so the moment of death, you will separate from your body each and every possession, friend, and loved one. So here we recognize that this body of ours that we have cared for over this entire lifespan, try to ensure that we're in good health and it served us well. When death comes, that body will be left behind. Even if we are still in good health and our body is quite vigorous, but if death comes, that body will be left behind. And similarly, our possessions that we have put so much time and energy and thought into their accumulation and their care, and possessions that we value so that if they break or they're lost, that it causes us pain, all of them are left behind. None of them, no matter how beneficial we have found them to be, can accompany us to our next life. And so too, the relationships that we have fostered in this life with friends and loved ones, and even our spiritual teacher, none of them can accompany us to our next life. All are left behind. No matter how much energy and attention we put into caring for our body, accumulating possessions that we value, or no matter how close we are to people, none of this can accompany us to our next life.
다 개와다 디빌리데스 개단 디빌리 제마신도 제수 장와다스 제제 제마신도 세당 아주 미드저데 직직직 니마로 셔도 미드데 미 디마세 저러면이 어디 때 미디가 와토네 디디마디디마 도고로와 벤넘주 파도나 넘주게 디만 나고디 가와도 나고도고로와 제자 디나시 당 아주 시제 개와치마로 가와도베네 세델량아주 디버사셔게단 개와사셔데 님도 키로요 알았다지 디마신도 두고래 아주 미디 가와토베네 니님도 용고래 제상 아주 조에 님도 키야디 개와다 디빌리디레스 개빌리에 사와네 디키로요라 디빌리에서네 디님 두고래 제상 개단 디빌리 디마신도 제수장스 제상 디네 인상 땅 아주 개빌리에다 디빌리기 디마신도 가와나 아주 개와치마 키로요 반사 안 디기 대부디 개와치마들랑 아주 민고래 세대 지사디 베셔다요래 소다 다 디바이 개빌레네 개빌리기 대부 베셔다 디기한 디바사자반 디빌리기 안 대부 동안요야디 근데 용고래서
All this will be left behind. Close companions, our valued possessions, and this body that we've cared for so. As we breathe our last in this life, and we travel to our next rebirth where our next breath will be taken, whilst all of that is left behind, what will accompany us is the virtue and non-virtuous karma that we've accumulated. Those karmic causes that our action has led to the accumulation of, these, like a shadow, accompany us to our next life. So the verse concludes with this. However, virtuous and non-virtuous karma will follow you like a shadow. So this is what we take with us. And all the experiences that we will encounter in our future rebirths, those will have come about independent on the karma accumulated in previous lives. And that is what accompanies us like a shadow to future rebirths.
아직 디게 돈다디 수로 도르드네 슈베이나 당아 저게 니미지 시루고레스 게디 시행해봐 수염을 시해래 시로도 갑라 안저 키줘야 돼 가려서네 근데 류롱죄 자시에 가리네 디스 샤상 키투이 줘야 말 님도 키야요 말에스 당아저 개와 가서 샤나 개와디 님도 키르고 두고 그랬어 디바드 두고 그랬어 제가 디네 인자 당아 저게 개위기 개위를 해야 같이 사투도 사오 개와 강은 두고 그래서 도나디스 개와 두고 그래서 다 디바디 아주 직 마야야 베스 시우체 고레스 제가 니네 인자다 개화 강요 두고레스 대야 다다나 삼당 고레스 마도 마음바 제마 로직 이제야 지기니만 제마 지긴 삼당바나 디네 아니 게디 제롬 마제 두스니엘 시선에 경시고라기래 다데네 두스까지 라르네 다데네 소소라나게 개화 가제지 도도딘 다든 두고고레 사데 다돈다 니보디 디레도 도르디 슈샤바나.
To summarize the presentation of these two verses, the meditation on the impermanence of this life, is that, firstly, to recognize the certainty that we will die, but the uncertainty as to when that will be, and it may well be much, much sooner than anticipated. And when death comes, all that we put so much time and energy into, looking after our body, accumulation of valuables, as well as those that we have close relationships with, none of that can accompany us to our next life. All that will accompany us is the virtuous and non-virtuous karma we have accumulated. This needs to be recognized clearly. And if it is, our mind will readily focus on utilizing what remains of this life well to accumulate virtue and to purify previously accumulated non-virtue. And we'll do it without being hindered by procrastination. We'll recognize that the time to develop our minds is right now, because I cannot have any certainty that I have an expanse of time before me. I need to utilize every moment, every day, to accumulate virtue, in other words, to strengthen wholesome minds, and to purify, in other words, to weaken unwholesome minds.
Andine inzada ngana juge Gabriela chikpene dungada ji shidu gure simbi shiwige chik shikedi shiege ngaba yomara tene shi ken tene mangbo yore ani ji shidu gure simbi samya tene nadu Gabriela assembly majiba yonsi barwa da out de busto what tene samdane da sem majiba yonsi barwa tene ge majiba chaska yomara tene samdaje ngana juge ngejoro samda tubene shiwene nga 저기 ben에 강보 약보치 지 사와바치 강보 약보 쉬어바이나 엔데르 강보님들은 보고 저변에 번이 도거나 그섬도 강아스가요 막 한번 사와바나 뒤에서도 약보 유대 버봐 디나싱아 저기 데니기 다 같이 돈달랑아 저기 계주 주변에 시고래 다 계주 주도까지 주투베네 제가 침말에 시네 그 신시야래 시야들에 섬sem되잖아 판도스가요 말 제자도 그 제가 침마 약보 영하게 유딩을 사샤바이나 dine gedishine ane ngazu kengore ngazu lo chimbo chagene de ko gejo ya bo sa yene dinye le shibine anye le yang chungchung chi da be su bo tang bo da ji lo xuan xuan ro ji le ji ne yang ji ga re che be na be ji lo je na ya ga ji tu ya ji le tu ya gi go hab chi yo ro ba da ko ji za dine yo ro ba ji za di dine ge sam da de sem bu so bo da ma ji ba chi yo ma le ga yo ma di ko ji dan sam da na ji ma do ro yo ma ro.
If one doesn't think skillfully about this presentation, reflecting on death and the uncertainty of the time of death, and that it could happen so much sooner than we'd wanted, and that all that are valued and accumulated I cannot take with me, one may become quite dispirited, quite depressed at this. So this may well happen because in our society we do not think about death, we don't talk about it, we don't think about it, and we try to avoid it. But here you're being encouraged to look honestly at your situation. And if one does, and comes to recognize the actual situation that we all find ourselves in, this knowledge presents many great possibilities. Being lost in confusion and ignorance, this doesn't open up possibilities before us. Knowledge of our actual situation, on the other hand, does. And if one comes to understand the fragility of this life, and that all will accompany us to our next life is the karma we've accumulated, we will turn our mind to virtue, and that alone will make our mind happy and positive. And moreover, as we accumulate virtue, thinking about our future lives, recognizing that this virtue will lead to good rebirths, we can see that, especially if our body is started to become quite decrepit, we can welcome the possibility of a youthful, fresh body. Just like if our house is falling down, it's moldy and smelly, and we have the opportunity to move into a new build that is clean and fabulous, we'll embrace that and have no regret about leaving that old home behind. So too, if we've used what remains of this life well, when the time of our death comes, we'll approach it without fear or regret, but actually with a sense of joy and anticipation at the new rebirth and all the possibilities for ongoing spiritual development that it presents.
야 가벨이야 아주기 지게 하고 디바로 지망고신 어다데 된마 다시도 디바드님도 키려요 개와 키려요 세상에 냐마 디바 망고지 다른 디바 키려 용구를 강아지 셈비야 셈리라지 용메시바 말아봐 나디서 디바 체베네 나줄이야 디바 샤고르바 세상 세델이야 계주 두면디 디바데 라슈에 충주어라 그 충주어 세상 충주어 자고 나지 세델이야 계주 같이 두투위네 냐마 디바 사제든 디바티 디바 충을 딴 거로 세상 디네자 그 디바디 나주 디바 충 맞다바지 매와 마서바 샤샤나 키키저 세델이야 그 개와 계주에 톱체 두 디바디 누버 충을 딴 아는 아주기 안지 디바샤네 두신 딕샤제네 안지 샤샤바네 매와 사상 코키려요 말바 디네자 당아주기 냐마디와 디버를 제외해배네야 다 까브레까블랑아주 마신와담 너네 디바차 용고 디바사와 용고를 제송아주 계주 두디 계주 가지 두비 디기 누바디 충을 따지 디바샤에 되바래 디네자 당아주기 제델이야 계주 두 디바 샤제도 제샤데 아니고 냠도 드라요 말 케야요 말 제사 디네자 아주리아 탑람이요 봐서 제사 디네자 당아주게 삼나다다데 송고르다 제르미치기 어디 계죠 데네 용구레 제산 데네 용도 아주 계죠 두고레스 제산다 케르데 디바데 시디 디바단 개와디 케도야레 제산다 계죠 야고 두바이나 디바데 누고 총 두고레 뉴 디바 계죠 디바 샤반 디바데 메바레 제자 케도야 마다가데 케도야 개와디 케도야레 다 개와 케도즈나 개비 제보디 디기다 무슨 소바 요아디 니직 땡케 바로와 디네자데 두숑고레 세체 온두시네 아줄야 진냠렌지다 삼나다다 송고로와.
In the previous segment, I mentioned how if one just thinking a bit about death may well make one's mind become weak and dispirited, unhappy. So that would be a mistake to think in this way, as I mentioned. So too, if thinking that all that accompanies me to my future rebirths is the karma I've accumulated, and that will ripen into what I will experience. What about all this non-virtue, this negative karma that I've engaged in this life? This too, thinking like this, one may generate a mind may arise that is dispirited or depressed, thinking, oh no, my future lives probably won't be so rosy. So here, this too is a mistaken conclusion to come to. Recognizing that it's only our karma that will accompany us, and that death will come at any time, and therefore right now I must apply myself to virtue, to the extent one then does, and accumulate virtuous minds. So the accumulation of virtue ensures that the mind is predominantly in a virtuous or wholesome state. The mere accumulation of virtue, that serves to purify our previously accumulated non-virtue. Because these minds are contrary. So the way this can be experienced is one becomes naturally inclined to virtue. One's way of thinking naturally is wholesome. When one encounters various experiences in life, one's response becomes naturally kind-hearted, wise, compassionate, loving. This shows the transformation of one's mind through the accumulation of virtue. So hence, Je Rinpoche encourages us to reflect on the impermanence of this life, because it, doing so skillfully, results in us focusing on the accumulation of virtue, which leads to the mind being positive and powerful, as well as light and spacious. Then the practitioner who lives what remains of this life virtuously, accumulating abundant merit, they will have a positive outlook about their future lives. The approaching death will bring no fear, but rather they will look forward to another good rebirth and the possibility to continue their spiritual development.
직신이 되게 나닝보들라 당아서 가르쳐 버렸으나 다 두시나가 삼단 다두 삼단하지 순고로와 제상아 두시는 삼단고 그래서 그러와 제자다가 저기 다 라다 셴 아주 수인네 그디네 지 시에레 마도 지 코시 나시기 말해서다 나시기로 코시기로 식 말해서 가요 말스 맞아 미다 둔로다 셈제 소자다 근데 지나지 님이 시줘야래 서베 다시 로바이나 안시에 될이야 상이 시기래 나니 시기래 로제마 시기래 로제기 제래 시기래세 뜻는데 가요 말와스 지산 디네자 그디 싱해봐요 말해서 디니시 삼다 디니 삼다데다 다시 로바이나 시디 갑라자 류다 롱어줘다 자셰다 가나 디스님도 켜요 말 다 소수게 개와서 샤바나 디켜요 디상에디 게주 두빈 샘비게다 개와 강투도 두인 샘비게 안 소수게 디바이 이네 제미아 디발 제미아다 개어두게 두기 제사다 녀마기 디바 제샤베네 지나 디바 되서 요베네 디수 디샤디게 개어둔 디바 샤긴 삼비게 삼로 데리스당 나 디네 토네 안다 제사 디네 엔자다 셈젠 함젤이야 대기 대화데 대화고고래 동아 대고고래 제사 디네자 셈젠 함제 대화데 템바쇼 셈비게 삼다디레다 삼다 딘심전의 동아단 저와 대개와 치마 삼당국고 말 세번째 대화의 템퍼쇼 선배 삼다 심전의 동아단 저와쇼 선배 삼다 안 심전의 대화의 템퍼의 동아의 제 된다려야 아니 대소이 강투도 지기 선배 삼다시다 대자등의 심전 탐지게 되는 상교고바 토바쇼 선배기 대니게 삼다지 안 소수게 지나를 되리급이야 안지 연차로 부여해베네 안 되니게 군노아 삼데네 대 권초래 추부여 선비게 삼다 추부여다 안디 멤비게 당한 저기다 지와 안직샹리야 직진바당 로바체 두기나다 안디메 소스라라게다 지게 송화 사야래 안디네 고라고라야래 단에 소수기 삼나야라 안지 잠재 고미야 심제 대화 템버쇼 선비 잠재 고미야 안데 진이죠 고미야 안 두시네 공부 되니게 잡아네 다 개와사고 와다디 디 가르슨 군노딜라 심제 탐지 잠이제 삼심제 상교고바 토버쇼 선비 삼다 디 삼다네 당아저 개와 가르주베네 디 개와디다 톱체쇼 상교고바 토비 규체고래 다 상교고바 파라딜라 디 상교고바 마타와 파라디 시소나 가르지게를람네 디 개와디 개와치마 류디 야볼 하다 미고바 토야래 차고 규차고래 안 된데라 아니 양최제 최제게 되베더니 듬바여바 된데라 최제고 고가브라와 냠내죠 고가라바디 디용고래 나서 개와치마 삼마다베네 되니기 심제 탐지 상요고바 토비치로 인선배 삼다제 개와가 강토도 지야디 누두세베네 되니기 공바이나 내고 개화사고래 디바냐마 사샤바이네 디바디 총주고래 제가 되네 자당한 저기 개와치마 하다미 고바 토야다 안타바 탐지 김베 고바도 규샤사 사고르와 누치네 삼다야디 당아저 강토도 가서 지 검토야디 예치무 유차고르와
As I mentioned this morning, the focus of the Buddha Dharma, what it means to practice the Buddha Dharma, is to transform our way of thinking. To summarize what we've looked at here, meditate on these various points, and when you gain familiarity with the steps, you can make it broader, more expansive, recognizing that not only is it certain that I will die, it is certain that everyone will die. Everyone that I know, that I have known, they will all die. Those that I meet, they will die too. Whether human or animal, whether famous or nobody of particular renown, we are all identical in this way. Our lives will end And none of us can state when that will be. Death could come at any moment for anyone. And for myself as well as others, we are all in that same position, that at the time of death, what we focused on so for the vast majority of our life, looking after our body, the accumulation of possessions, our relationships with loved ones, none of these can accompany us to our next rebirth. All that will accompany us is our virtuous and non-virtuous karma. This is the position for me and all beings. And moreover, all of us want happiness and a state freed of suffering. We want it right now, let alone in future lives. But the only way to achieve that is through the accumulation of virtue and the purification of non-virtue. This is the case for myself. It's a case for everyone here. It's a case for all beings, human or animal. In the same way that I recognize that this precious life is coming rapidly to an end, and therefore need to apply myself to accumulate virtue, this is the position for all beings, whether they recognize it or not. So too, their next life will be determined by the karma that they are accumulating. So whilst I am now committing myself to applying to accumulate the causes of happiness and to purify the causes that would otherwise lead to suffering, all beings need to do this, whether they understand this for themselves yet or not. So as there really is no difference between myself or others, that the observable differences are superficial at best, I have a responsibility as someone who has understood the reality of the situation to help others attain a state of lasting happiness, which we all long for. And I will do so by ensuring that everything I say, do, or think brings no harm to others. From this moment forth, I commit to trying to do that. And rather, wherever I can, to help them. And I have as my goal to spiritually develop, not merely so that I can attain a good rebirth, so that I can gain freedom from suffering, but rather so that I can become ever more spiritually developed, so that I can help others ever more skillfully. And the most skillful of guides is a Buddha. So therefore, I will have as my objective to become a Buddha, not so that I can become a perfected being, so that I can experience only lasting bliss, but so that I can be greatly skilled in helping others achieve a state of happiness themselves. So in this way, we have taken our meditation on the impermanence of this life and used it and developed it further into a meditation on bodhicitta. And with bodhicitta generated in our continuum, we can either continue to meditate on love and compassion, or we can make offerings, or do circumambulation, or engage in our daily activities with a focus on helping others, whatever way we can, so that through this virtue, we can lead them skillfully to attain their own enlightenment. So here, the focus of the meditation on the impermanence of life leads to the accumulation of virtue, but not just merely for good rebirth, but so that we can become Buddhas for the sake of others. And thereby, because that is the motivation, this virtue that has been accumulated will continue to have a positive impact until enlightenment is achieved, not leading not only to a good rebirth, but our ongoing spiritual development. And as we do so, accumulating virtue in this way, generating minds such as love and compassion and bodhicitta, this accumulation of virtue naturally purifies contrary, non-virtuous minds, such as anger and so forth. So this then is a skillful way to meditate on the impermanence of life.
Chiki namgini kyangzugi naan diri na namgini ani sosogi gewe samla kechor chiki 강토도 지고래 안디 멤베게 다데 내가블리네 강텔이야 참되지 기초를 싸고 그래 제가 즉 데니기 냠는 제에게 개와디게 셔서 양 개와치마다 탈바다 탐지kimbe 고마도 비규를 차고로 규차고래 데네자 데서 소소게 녀마게 소소게 개와 강사요 가르가르 제외바디 소소이 셈을 잼바체 어디에 야고 제샤 선빙이 데서 야고 중샤 선빙이 델레 제수 이라체 안 다데 가지고 두치네 다데 갑리나 손소 계조 사고 다데 차르체는 마 지마 조디나 제마인 어등이 델레야 가지고 두치네 참되지네 계조 야고 주바레 세비게 두치네 삼다기 제수 이라체 바이나 어느 다데 지난 넘기네 개와서 개와레 다데 참되지데 개와 랍천 사고래 안 델레야 제수 이라체 바이나 델레야 내누 개와사고래 제 개와사고 두치네 제바이나 당주게 개와 강투도 사용 거래 디네 지긴 두치네 사기 지나가지고 니마다 다와다 로치네 다와지 나진 로치네 로치 니숨체 디네 사는데 그주 지망보직도 사요 되는 망보 차이로 와 니발 마선에 체 루고로 와 침보 차이로 와 디네 자다 그 시베네 안에 개와치마 야가지 레투브레요 레투에게 유럽 사와이다 데네게 샘데스 가강 민도와 데네 뭐번에 데데라이나 데네게 다디게 사시베 계위기 디톱이 안에지 개와체야야 아직게 샘 듬바게야다 계슈체야로 고고 약보라야 두치네 개와 치마라 데네제 두수치네 탈바다 탐지기 뭐고 톱세야디 데네시 톱고로 와다 데네게 차고라 데네자 아주 두치네 삼다야 디레도와다
By merely hearing these teachings and reflecting on what is being said, especially if you're doing so in a way that's personal and direct to oneself, in this time together, you would have accumulated a vast store of merit. Not only that, but in our session earlier and the meditations before and after that. Each of these, your mind has been on virtue, and therefore vast stores of merit or positive karma has been accumulated. So I encourage you right now to recognize what you have done. That this morning, today thus far, you have accumulated vast stores of merit, and you've done so with a motivation, thinking beyond this mere life. And this is something truly remarkable, something of great rarity in our world. This period of time, just these few hours, you have used so well. You've used in a way that will have lasting impact for lifetimes to come. So recognize this, rejoice in this. Because the great power of rejoicing is that through taking delight in the virtue that's accumulated, naturally you'll want to do so again. You'll have a positive outlook towards the next meditation session, towards the teachings that will follow tomorrow. And the thought will arise, these habits I'm building of meditation on the Dharma, I want to continue these at home. Because it's difficult at home to have a sustained meditation practice. But by rejoicing here, one makes it much more likely that one will be able to set aside a bit of time every day. Moreover, through rejoicing, taking pleasure in this virtue, the thought will arise, and I look forward to when I can create the causes to come again and engage in another retreat. This too serves to strengthen our virtuous minds and make it ever more likely that one will utilize what remains of this life as well as possible. And through these causes, one can also have confidence that our future lives will go well. We are creating the causes for good rebirths, and in those rebirths to seek out and meet the Dharma so that our progression or spiritual development can continue life to life. And the attainment of the generation of bodhicitta within us and enlightenment itself draws ever nearer. So thank you. Then we'll conclude there for this afternoon. Thank you very much.